Pretty major fireworks to tell you about on Capitol Hill. House Democrats pulled what you might call a switcheroo, telling Republicans voting was done for the night to allow debate on the annual spending bill. Then Democrats quickly called for a vote, forcing the Republicans who went home to scramble back to the chamber. Chief political correspondent Carl Cameron is on the Hill for us. Carl, that sounds like a game I used to play in 4th grade with my friends, and it sounds like some people are pretty upset about it, understandably.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight when you see these Congress people come back to the Hill in their sneakers and their T-shirts and their evening relax-at-home clothes. But that's what some of them were actually doing, and they came with an attitude, too. Real aggravation among Republicans, the idea that they've been steamrolled on this. This is a $64 billion spending bill, an appropriations bill in the House. They want them all done, 13 appropriations bills by the end of July. And this one is for justice, commerce, and some science programs. 127 amendments was just an awful lot, and the debate was taking a long time. So the meltdown began when they looked at their watches and realized it could take a while. Here's a little sampling of how it got shut down.
If you multiply, say 25, we had a 15-minute vote. If you multiply that by 127, you come to a pretty high number, making it impossible for us to complete, in my view, the appropriation process by the end of July.
It certainly seems to me, I would say to the gentleman, with all due respect, that there was some preconceived notion that this was the direction in which the majority was going to head regardless.
The shorthand of it really is that Republicans thought they had a promise to be able to offer up amendments, 127 in total. All of a sudden, that was completely blown out. They were called back an hour later for a vote, and it passed without those amendments. Some did. There were a handful, 3 of 7 or so, that actually passed. But of the 127, most of them didn't get passed. It has left Republicans really, really angry. So,
is there any option for those 127 amendments? And I guess I have a question too about Acorn. Where are they left in all this?
Yeah. Well, there's now 33 amendments that have been allowed, so 80 some odd, 90 some odd have been eliminated. And the ones that have caused the most consternation regard Acorn. There are 2 amendments that were proposed by Republicans that would have essentially blocked them from getting federal funds while they are under investigation for fraud. In fact, any nonprofit community organization such as Acorn would be prohibited from getting federal tax dollars while they're under investigation, as Acorn is for alleged fraud during the 2008 election. It would also bar Acorn from participating in the U.S. Census. You know, this appropriation would put about $8 billion out there for community organizing groups to take part in the count when the every 10 years count starts. And as a consequence of that, many think that if they can't be trusted to register people for votes, how could you possibly get them to be trustworthy when you're counting Americans in the census, which ultimately relates to trillions of dollars in federal spending. The last thing that they didn't allow to go up was a funding of an investigation by the Justice Department of Nancy Pelosi's claim that the CIA had lied to her. Democrats really didn't want to see those amendments debated. They were concerned that they might actually have some votes and be in danger of passing. It would have been a huge embarrassment for them, for Acorn, for Nancy Pelosi. And so no amendments, and it all goes away, leaving Republicans absolutely convinced in their conviction that the Democratic majority will use a sledgehammer, even though their statistical and numerical advantage wouldn't necessarily require them to do that. They can do whatever they want, and they are doing it with very heavy hands that have Republicans pretty upset.
Carl Cameron on the Hill for us. Carl, thanks.